Demons. Do they exist? And if so, what are they? Where do they come from? It may surprise you that an entire field of study is dedicated to finding those answers. It's time to chase demons as we delve into the story of demonology and the pentagram. Before we get into the realm of demons, we need to address their commander-in-chief, the devil himself. Satan, also known as the devil, and sometimes also called Lucifer in Christianity, is an entity in the Abrahamic religions that seduces humans into sin or falsehood. In Judaism, Satan is seen as an agent subservient to God, typically regarded as a metaphor for the Yetzer Hara, or evil inclination. In Christianity and Islam, he is usually seen as a fallen angel or jinn who rebelled against God, allowing him temporary power over the fallen world and a host of demons. In the Quran, Shaitan, also known as Iblis, is an entity made of fire who was cast out of heaven because he refused to bow before the newly created Adam and incites humans to sin by infecting their minds with waswas, which translates to evil suggestions. A figure known as Her Satan, or the Satan, first appears in the Hebrew Bible as a heavenly prosecutor, subordinate to Yahweh, also known as God, who prosecutes the nation of Judah in the heavenly court and tests the loyalty of Yahweh's followers. During the intertestamental period, possibly due to influence from the Zoroastrian figure of Angra Mainyu, the Satan developed into a malevolent entity with abhorrent qualities in dualistic opposition to God. In the apocryphal Book of Jubilees, Yahweh grants the Satan, referred to as Mastema, authority over a group of fallen angels or their offspring to tempt humans to sin and punish them. Although the Book of Genesis does not mention him, Christians often identify the serpent in the Garden of Eden as Satan, but the Jewish people do not. In the Synoptic Gospels, Satan tempts Jesus in the desert and is recognized as the cause of illness and temptation. In the Book of Revelation, Satan appears as a great red dragon who is defeated by Michael the archangel and cast down from heaven. He is later bound for 1,000 years, but is briefly set free before being ultimately defeated and cast into the lake of fire. In the Middle Ages, Satan played a minimal role in Christian theology and was used as a comic relief figure in mystery plays. During the early modern period, Satan's significance significantly increased as beliefs such as demonic possession and witchcraft became more prevalent. During the Age of Enlightenment, trust in the existence of Satan was harshly criticized by thinkers such as Voltaire. Nonetheless, belief in Satan has persisted, particularly in the Americas. Although Satan is generally viewed as evil, some groups have very different beliefs. In theistic Satanism, Satan is considered and worshipped or revered deity. In LaVeyan Satanism, Satan is a symbol of virtuous characteristics and liberty. Satan's appearance is never described in the Bible, but since the 9th century, he has often been shown in Christian art with horns, cloven hooves, unusually hairy legs, and a tail, often naked and holding a pitchfork. These are an amalgam of traits derived from various pagan deities, including Pan, Poseidon, and Beas. Satan frequently appears in Christian literature, most notably in Dante Alighieri's Inferno, all variants of the classic Faust story, John Milton's Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained, and the poems of William Blake. He continues to appear in film, television, and music. Now let's take a look at the study of Satan's minions. What is demonology? Demonology is the study of demons or beliefs about demons and the hierarchy of demons. They may be non-human separable souls or discarnate spirits which have never inhabited a body. A sharp distinction is often drawn between these two classes, notably by the Melanesians, several African groups, and others. The Islamic jinn, for example, is not reducible to modified human souls. At the same time, these classes are frequently conceived as producing identical results, for example, diseases. According to some societies, all the affairs of the universe are supposed to be under the control of spirits, each ruling a specific element or even object, and themselves in subjection to a greater spirit. For example, the Inuit believe in spirits of the sea, earth, sky, winds, clouds, and everything in nature. Every cove of the seashore, every point, every island, and prominent rock has its guardian spirit. All are potential of the malignant type to be appeased by an appeal to knowledge of the supernatural. Traditional Korean belief posits countless demons inhabit the natural world. They fill household objects and are present in all locations. By the thousands, they accompany travelers, seeking them out from their places in the elements. Greek philosophers such as Porphyry of Tyre, who claimed influence from Platonism, and the fathers of the Christian Church, held that the world was permeated with spirits, the latter of whom advanced the belief that demons received the worship directed at pagan gods. The ascription of malevolence to the world of spirits is by no means universal. In Central Africa, the Mpong believe in local ghosts just as the Inuit do, but they are regarded as inoffensive in the main. Passers-by must make some trifling offering as they near the spirit's place of abode. The occasional mischievous act, such as the throwing down of a tree on a passerby, is believed by the natives to be perpetuated by the class of spirits known as ombwiri. So too many of the spirits, primarily concerned with the operations of nature, are conceived as neutral or even benevolent. The European peasant fears the corn spirit only when he irritates him by trenching on his domain and taking his property by cutting the corn. Similarly, there is no reason why the more insignificant personages of the pantheon should be conceived as evil, and we find that the Petara of the Dyaks is far from indiscriminate and malignant, being viewed as invisible guardians of humanity. Demons are generally considered spirits that are believed to enter relations with the human race. As such, the term includes angels in the Christian tradition that fell from grace, malevolent genii or familiars, ghosts or other malevolent revenants. Excluded are souls conceived as inhabiting another world. Yet just as gods are not necessarily spiritual, demons may also be regarded as corporeal. Vampires, for example, are sometimes described as human heads with appended entrails, which emerge from the tomb to attack the living during the night watches. The so-called spectre huntsman of the Malay Peninsula is said to be a man who scours the sky with his dogs, vainly seeking what he could not find on earth. A buck mouse deer pregnant with male offspring, but he seems to be a living man. There is no statement that he ever died, nor yet that he is a spirit. The incubi and succubi of the Middle Ages are sometimes considered spiritual beings. Still, they were held to give proof of their bodily existence, such as offspring, though often deformed. Belief in demons goes back many millennia. The Zoroastrian faith teaches that there are 3,333 demons, some with specific dark responsibilities such as war, starvation, sickness, etc. Ancient Mesopotamian religion. The ancient Mesopotamians believed that the underworld Ker was home to many demons, sometimes referred to as the offspring of Arali. These demons could sometimes leave the underworld and terrorize mortals on earth. One class of demons believed to reside in the underworld was known as Gala. Their primary purpose appears to have been to drag unfortunate mortals back to Ker. They are frequently referenced in magical texts, and some texts describe them as being 7 in number. Several extant poems describe the Gala dragging the god Dumusid into the underworld. Like other demons, however, Gala could also be benevolent, and, in a hymn from King Gudir of Lagash, a minor god named Aigalima is described as the Great Gala of Gersu. demons had no cult in Mesopotamian religious practice, since demons know no food, know no drink, eat no flour offering, and drink no libation. Judaism. Judaism does not have demonology or any set of doctrines about demons. Use of the name Lucifer stems from Isaiah 14:3-20, a passage which does speak of the defeat of a particular Babylonian king, to whom it gives a title that refers to what in English is called the day star or morning star, in Latin, Lucifer, meaning light bearer, from the words lucem fair. There is more than one instance in Jewish medieval myth and lore where demons are said to have come to be, as seen by the Grigori angels, of Lilith leaving Adam, of demons such as vampires, unrest spirits in Jewish folklore such as the Dybbuk. Christianity. Christian demonology is the study of demons from a Christian point of view. It is primarily based on the Bible's Old Testament and New Testament, the explanation of scriptures, the writings of early Christian philosophers and hermits, traditions and legends incorporated from other beliefs. Some scholars suggest that the origins of early Greek Old Testament demonology can be traced to two distinctive and often competing mythologies of evil, Adamic and Enochic. The first tradition, the Adamic tradition, ties demons to the fall of man caused by the serpent who beguiled Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Thus, the Adamic story traces the source of evil to Satan's transgression and the fall of man, a trend reflected in the books of Adam and Eve, which explains the reason for Satan's demotion by his refusal to worship and submit to God. The other tradition, the early Enochic tradition, ties demons to the fall of angels in the antediluvian period. This tradition bases its understanding of the origin of demons on the story of the fallen watchers, led by Azazel. Scholars believe these two enigmatic figures, Azazel and Satan, exercised a formative influence on early Jewish demonology. While in the beginning of their conceptual journeys, Azazel and Satan are posited as representatives of two distinctive and often rival trends tied to the specific etiologies of corruption. In later Jewish and Christian demonological lore, both antagonists are able to enter each other's respective stories in new conceptual capacities. In these later traditions, Satanas is often depicted as the leader of the fallen angels, while his conceptual rival, Azazel, is portrayed as a seducer of Adam and Eve. While historical Judaism never recognized any set of doctrines about demons, scholars believe Zoroastrianism influenced its post-exilic concepts of eschatology, angelology, and demonology. Some believe these concepts were received as part of the Kabbalistic tradition, while many believe today that Lucifer and Satan are different names for the same being. Not all scholars subscribe to this view. Several authors throughout Christian history have written about demons for various purposes. Theologians like Thomas Aquinas wrote concerning the behaviors Christians should be aware of. In contrast, witch hunters like Heinrich Kramer wrote about how to find and what to do with people they believed were involved with demons. Some texts, such as the Lesser Key of Solomon or the Grimoire of Pope Honorius, although these, the earliest manuscripts, were from well after these individuals had died, are written with instructions on how to summon demons in the name of God, and often were claimed to have been written by individuals respected within the church. These latter texts were usually more detailed, giving names, ranks, and descriptions of demons individually and categorically. Most Christians commonly reject these texts as either diabolical or fictitious. In modern times, some demonological texts have been written by Christians, usually similar to Thomas Aquinas, explaining their effects on the world and how faith may lessen or eliminate damage by them. A few Christian authors, such as Jack Chick and John Todd, write with intentions similar to Kramer, proclaiming that demons and their human agents are active in the world. These claims can stray from mainstream ideology and may include such beliefs as that Christian rock is a means through which demons influence people. Not all Christians believe that demons exist in the literal sense. Some believe that the New Testament's exorcism language was originally part of curing ceremonies for what we now recognize as epilepsy, mental illness, etc. Islam has no doctrinal hierarchy of demonology. Even though some Muslim scholars try to classify jinn and demons, there is no established classification, and terms for jinn may overlap or be used interchangeably. Naming the jinn also depends on cultural influences. Julius Wellhausen states that Islamic demonology is also zoology. Many demonic or demon-like entities are not purely spiritual but physical and related to animals. Al-Jahiz makes one major classification: Amir, a jinni who lives among humans; Shaitan, a malicious and rebellious jinn; Marid, a stronger type of jinn trying to steal information from heaven; Ifrit, the most potent kind of jinn. The German Orientalist Almut Wieland Karimi classified the jinn into the 10 most common categories mentioned in folklore literature: jinn or jan, ordinary jinn, a class apart from other jinn types, but also used as a collective to refer to invisible beings in general; Shaitan, malevolent jinni, which causes illness and madness; Ifrit, delimitation to ordinary jinn remains unclear. It can be either a powerful, cunning jinn or a strong shaitan. Ifrits are generally bad. Marid, an arrogant and powerful shaitan or very malevolent ifrit. Bu, a jinn that frightens children. Silla, a female demon who seduces men. Amir, spirits dwelling in houses. Ghul, generally evil, lives in the desert. Karuna, name for a specific demon strangling children. Hatif is a mysterious phenomenon that can only be heard but never seen. The Ghul and the Silla often challenge Orientalists to tell them apart because both are shapeshifters also appearing as females to seduce men. A Ghul in Arabic means the term for any shape-shifting spirit, including the Silla. Furthermore, Marid and Ifrit may be hard to distinguish since they are often used interchangeably, for example in 1001 Nights. However, both entities have properties apart from each other. The Ifrit is also related to the ghosts of the dead, seeking revenge, unlike the Marid. On the other hand, the Marid is related to those assistants of truth-sayers, striving to heaven to access information from the angels, while the Ifrit does not. Additionally, the Peri and the Diva are kinds of jinn in Persian lore. While the Diva is akin to the Shayateen, subordinates of Satan, the Peris are good jinn fighting the Diva. However, the Peri may endanger people if they become angered. Ahmad al-Buni relates 4 Ifrits to Arcturans, diametric opposites to the 4 archangels of Islam. They have their Shayatin, plural of Shaitan, under their command and are subordinate to Iblis, who is thought to be the leader of Shayatin. Buddhism. Traditionally, Buddhism affirms the existence of hells peopled by demons who torment sinners and tempt mortals to sin or who seek to thwart their enlightenment, with a demon named Mara as a chief tempter, prince of darkness, or evil one in Sanskrit sources. The followers of Mara were also called Mara, the devils, and are frequently cited as a cause of disease or representations of mental obstructions. The Mara became fully assimilated into the Chinese worldview and were called Mo. The idea of the imminent decline and collapse of the Buddhist religion amid a great cacophony of demonic influences was already a significant component of Buddhism when it reached China in the 1st century AD, according to Michael Strickman. Demonic forces had attained enormous power in the world. For some writers of the time, this state of affairs had been ordained to serve the higher purpose of effecting a preliminary cleansing that would purge and purify humanity in preparation for an ultimate messianic renewal. Indian Buddhism heavily influenced medieval Chinese Buddhist demonology. Indian demonology is also thoroughly and systematically described in written sources. Though during Buddhism's centuries of direct influence in China, Chinese demonology was whipped into respectable shape, with a number of Indian demons finding permanent niches, even in Taoist ritual texts. The Ksitigarbha Sutra states that heaven and hell change as the world changes, and that many new hells with different demons can be created to fit the different ways that the human realm changes. Chinese Buddhism also influenced Taoism with beliefs in hell. The Taoists eventually came up with their demonology law, which in turn created folk beliefs about spirits in hell, a combination of beliefs from the two religions. However, the demons in hell are viewed differently than in Abrahamic faiths, who, instead of pure evil, are more of guards of hell, although they are still considered evil beings. They are ruled over by Yama, which came from Buddhism's Hindu influences, but certain scriptures and beliefs also state that there are 18 different Yamas in hell, which have an army of demons and undead at their side. Also, the Surangama Sutra, a central Mahayana Buddhist text, describes 50 demonic states, the so-called 50 skandha maras, which are negative mirror-like reflections of or deviations from correct samadhi meditative absorption states. In this context, demons are considered by Buddhists to be beings possessing some supernatural powers who, in the past, might have practiced Dharma, the Buddha's teaching, but due to practicing it incorrectly, failed to develop true wisdom and genuine compassion, which are inseparable attributes of an enlightened being such as a Buddha or a Bodhisattva. In his autobiography, The Blazing Splendor, Tulku Oljin Rinpoche, a prominent Tibetan Buddhist master of the 20th century, describes encounters with such beings. Therefore, in Buddhism, demons may refer to disturbed mind states and actual beings depending on the context. Hinduism. Vedic scriptures include a range of spirits, Vetalas, Rakshasas, Bhutas, and Pishachas that might be classified as demons. These spirits are souls of beings that have committed certain specific sins. As a purging punishment, they are condemned to roam without a physical form for a long time until rebirth. Beings that die with unfulfilled desires or anger are also said to linger until such issues are resolved. Hindu text Atharvaveda gives an account of nature and the habitats of such spirits, including how to persuade or control them. There are occult traditions in Hinduism that seek to prevent such spirits from doing their bidding. Hindu text Garuda Purana details other punishments and judgments given out in hell. This also accounts for how the spirit travels to nether worlds. Zoroastrianism. In the Zoroastrian tradition, Ahura Mazda, as the force of good Spenta Manu, will eventually be victorious in a cosmic battle with an evil force known as Angra Mainyu or Ahriman. One symbol frequently appears in the realm of demonology, a five-pointed star known as the pentagram. However, it is nowhere near as sinister as you may think. A pentagram, sometimes known as a pentulfa, pentangle or star pentagon, is the shape of a regular five-pointed star polygon formed from the diagonal line segments of a convex or straightforward, or non-self-intersecting regular pentagon. Drawing a circle around the 5 points creates a similar symbol referred to as the pentacle, which is used widely by Wiccans, pagans, or just as a sign of life and connections. The word pentagram refers only to the 5-pointed star, not the circle surrounding it in a pentacle. Pentagrams were used symbolically in ancient Greece and Babylonia. Today, they are widely used by the Wicca, witches, and pagans, akin to the use of the cross by Christians. The pentagram has magical associations. Many people who practice modern paganism and pagan faiths wear jewelry incorporating the symbol. Christians once commonly used the pentagram to represent the 5 wounds of Jesus. The pentagram comes from the Greek word pentagrammon, pent, 5, plus gram, line. Pentagram refers to just the star, and pentacle refers to the star within the circle, although these are often referred to as the same. The word pentalpha is a learned modern 17th century revival of a post-classical Greek name for the shape. History. Early pentagrams have been found on Sumerian pottery from circa 3500 BCE, and the five-pointed star was at various times the symbol of Ishtar or Marduk. The pentagram was known to the ancient Greeks, with a depiction on a vase possibly dating back to the 7th century BC. Pythagoreanism originated in the 6th century BC and used the pentagram to symbolize mutual recognition and well-being. From around 300 to 150 BCE, the pentagram stood as the symbol of Jerusalem, marked by the 5 Hebrew letters spelling its name. The word pentamikos, 5 commas or 5 recesses, was the title of the cosmogony of Pherecydes of Syros. Here, the 5 commas are where the seeds of chronos are placed within the earth for the cosmos to appear. In Neoplatonism, the pentagram was said to have been used as a symbol or sign of recognition by the Pythagoreans, who called the pentagram hygeia, meaning health. Middle Ages. The pentagram was used in ancient times as a Christian symbol for the 5 senses or of the 5 wounds of Christ. The pentagram plays a crucial symbolic role in the 14th century English poem Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, in which the symbol decorates the shield of the hero Gawain. The unnamed poet credits the symbol's origin to King Solomon and explains that each of the 5 interconnected points represents a virtue tied to a group of 5. Gawain is perfect in his 5 senses and 5 fingers, faithful to the 5 wounds of Christ, takes courage from the 5 joys that Mary had of Jesus, and exemplifies the 5 virtues of knighthood, which are generosity, friendship, purity, chivalry, and holiness. The North Rose of Amiens Cathedral, built in the 13th century, exhibits a pentagram-based motif. Some sources interpret the unusual downward-pointing star as symbolizing the Holy Spirit descending on people. Renaissance. Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa and others perpetuated the popularity of the pentagram as a magic symbol, attributing the 5 Neoplatonic elements to the 5 points in typical Renaissance fashion. Romanticism. By the mid-19th century, a further distinction had developed amongst occultists regarding the pentagram's orientation. With a single point upwards, it depicted spirit presiding over the 4 elements of matter and was essentially good. However, the influential writer Eliphas Levi called it evil whenever the symbol appeared the other way up. A reversed pentagram, with 2 points projecting upwards, is a symbol of evil and attracts sinister forces because it overturns the proper order of things and demonstrates the triumph of matter over spirit. It is the goat of lust attacking the heavens with its horns, a sign execrated by initiates. The flaming star, which, when turned upside down, is the hieroglyphic sign of the goat of black magic, whose head may be drawn in the star, the 2 horns at the top, the ears to the right and left, the beard at the bottom. It is a sign of antagonism and fatality. It is the goat of lust attacking the heavens with its horns. Let us keep the figure of the 5-pointed star always upright, with the topmost triangle pointing to heaven, for it is the seat of wisdom, and if the figure is reversed, perversion and evil will be the result. East Asian symbolism. Wuxing is the 5 phases or 5 elements in Taoist Chinese tradition. They are differentiated from the formative ancient Japanese or Greek elements due to their emphasis on cyclic transformations and change. The 5 phases are fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. The Wuxing is the fundamental philosophy and doctrine of traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture. Uses in modern occultism. Based on Renaissance-era occultism, the pentagram found its way into the symbolism of modern occultists. Its primary use continues the ancient Babylonian use of the pentagram as an apotrope charm to protect against evil forces. Eliphas Levi claimed that the pentagram expresses the mind's domination over the elements, and it is by this sign that we bind the demons of the air, the spirits of fire, the spectres of water, and the ghosts of earth. In this spirit, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn developed the use of the pentagram in the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which is still used to this day by those who practice Golden Dawn-type magic. Aleister Crowley used the pentagram in his Thelemic system of magic. An adverse or inverted pentagram represents the descent of spirit into matter, according to the interpretation of Longfellow Duquette. Crowley contradicted his old comrades in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The latter, following Levy, considered this orientation of the symbol evil and associated it with the triumph of matter over spirit. Used in new religious movements, the five-pointed star is a symbol of the Baha'i faith. In the Baha'i faith, the star is known as the Haykal Arabic temple, and it was initiated and established by the Bab. The Bab and Bahrul wrote various works in the form of a pentagram. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is theorized to have begun using upright and inverted five-pointed stars in temple architecture, dating from the Nauvoo, Illinois temple, dedicated on April 30, 1846. Other temples decorated with five-pointed stars in both orientations include the Salt Lake Temple and the Logan, Utah Temple. These usages come from the symbolism found in Revelation chapter 12. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Because of a perceived association with Satanism and occultism, many United States schools in the late 1990s sought to prevent students from displaying the pentagram on clothing or jewelry. In public schools, such actions by administrators were determined in 2000 to violate students' First Amendment right to free exercise of religion. The encircled pentagram, referred to as a pentacle by the plaintiffs, was added to the list of 38 approved religious symbols to be placed on the tombstones of fallen service members at Arlington National Cemetery on April 24, 2007. The decision was made following 10 applications from families of fallen soldiers who practiced Wicca. The government paid the families $225,000 to settle their pending lawsuits. Other religious use. The five-pointed star symbolizes the Sera religion and the Sera people of West Africa. Called Una in their language, it symbolizes the universe in the Sera creation myth and also represents the star Sirius. The pentagram has been used in Judaism since at least 300 BCE, when it was first used as the stamp of Jerusalem. It is used to represent justice, mercy, and wisdom. Other modern use. The pentagram is featured on the national flags of Morocco, adopted 1915, and Ethiopia, adopted 1996, and redocted 2009. A pentagram is featured on the flag of the Dutch city of Hoksbergen and its coat of arms. A pentagram is featured on the flag of the Japanese city of Nagasaki and its emblem. Geometry. The pentagram is the simplest regular star polygon. The pentagram contains 10 points, the star's 5 points, the inner pentagon's 5 vertices, 15 line segments. The Schlafly symbol represents it, like a regular pentagon and a regular pentagon with a pentagram constructed inside it. The regular pentagram has as its symmetry group the dihedral group of order 10. It can be seen as a net of a pentagonal pyramid, although with isosceles triangles. Construction. The pentagram can be constructed by connecting alternate vertices of a pentagon. See details of the construction. It can also be built as a stellation of a pentagon by extending the edges of a pentagon until the lines intersect. Truncation. A uniform truncated pentagram produces a doubly wrapped pentagon with overlapping vertices and edges. A shallower truncation has an isogonal figure with equally spaced vertices. The truncated retropentagram, or a quasi-truncation, produces a decagram. Golden ratio. The golden ratio plays a vital role in regular pentagons and pentagrams. Each intersection of edges sections The edges in the golden ratio. The ratio of the length of the edge to the longer segment is phi, as is the size of the more extended part to the shorter. Also, the ratio of the length of the shorter part to the segment bounded by the two intersecting edges aside of the pentagon in the pentagram's center is phi. The pentagram includes 10 isosceles triangles, 5 acute and 5 obtuse isosceles triangles. The acute triangles are golden. The obtuse isosceles triangle highlighted via the colored lines in the illustration is a golden gnomon. Trigonometric values. As a result, in an isosceles triangle with 1 or 2 angles of 36 degrees, the longer of the two side lengths is times that of the shorter of the two, both in the case of the acute and the case of the obtuse triangle. Spherical pentagram. A pentagram can be drawn as a star polygon on a sphere composed of 5 great circle arcs, whose all internal angles are right angles. John Napier described this shape in his 1614 book, Mirifici Logarithmorum Canonis Descriptio, description of the wonderful rule of logarithms, along with rules that link the values of trigonometric functions of 5 parts of a right spherical triangle with 2 angles and 3 sides. It was studied later by Carl Friedrich Gauss. Pentagram of Venus. The pentagram of Venus is the apparent path of the planet Venus as observed from Earth. Successive inferior conjunctions of Venus repeat with an orbital resonance of approximately 13.8, that is, Venus orbits the Sun about 13 times for every 8 orbits of Earth, shifting 144 degrees at each inferior conjunction. The tips of the 5 loops at the center of the figure have the same geometric relationship to one another as the 5 vertices or points of a pentagram, and each group of 5 intersections equidistant from the figure's center has the same geometric relationship. In computer systems, the pentagram has these Unicode code points that enable them to be included in documents. Demonology and pentagrams will continue to fascinate and intrigue. No matter what you believe, it's hard to argue just how incredibly compelling these subjects remain. Until next time.